Hey guys, I hope you enjoy this week's sermon. If you're interested in getting connected here more at the sanctuary, you can visit us at our website at tscwest.org, or you can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of the things. I hope you enjoy this message.
So we're going to talk about that today, actually. Friendship and community. And what I'd like to do is start at the beginning. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Then God said, "Let us make humanity in our image." That little word "us" for me holds infinite meaning. It reveals something foundational about our spirituality. It reveals something beautiful and mysterious about who God is. It's something that, because of its complexity, almost its mystic nature, that modern Christians often ignore, and yet it's one of the most foundational realities to who God is as the scriptures teach us. Us. Let us make humanity in our image. These are two plural words. My friends, we must remember as a foundation to our spirituality that God is not solitary, but that God is Trinity. That God is a Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit. Father, Son, and Spirit. When it says, "Let us make humanity in our image," we can't ignore the plural nature of these words, meaning there's more than one person at the table. When God made us in God's image, there was more than one person in mind. It's within this communal image, my friends, that we were made. We were made in the image of God, and the image of God we were made within was and is communal. Let us make humanity in our image. We were made in the image of a communal God. We get a glimpse of this in Genesis 18, when God appears to Abraham as three mysterious guests. So what I want you to pay attention to here, I showed up late because of everything, so I don't think I got all of this up there. But what I want you guys to do is pay attention to the single and plural nature as we go through this passage, okay? The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre. While he was sitting there at the entrance to his tent at the heat of the day, Abraham looked up and saw three men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed to the ground. He said, "If I have found any favor in your eyes, my Lord," notice he calls them my Lord, right? "Do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all," plural, "you may all wash your feet under this tree. Let me get you something to eat so you can be refreshed, now that you have come to your servant." "Very well," they answered, "do as you say." So Abraham hurried to his tent to Sarah. "Quick," he said, "get 3 baskets of your finest flour, or bags of your finest flour, and knead it to bake some bread." Then he ran and selected the calf and gave it to the servant, who hurried to prepare it. Then they got curds and milk, and the calf had been prepared, and set these before them. While they ate, he stood near them under the tree. Do you see this plural nature, the theys and the thems? And yet he also says, "My Lord, thanks for visiting." What's so interesting about this passage is in the way it oscillates between this language. All of their feet, the Lord, they answered them. You see, Sarah and Abraham, what did they do in this passage? They welcomed, fed, and honored. They were hosts. And I think this picture of the presence of God visiting Abraham and Sarah is an image that we need to hold dearly when it comes to our image of God and our image of community. A communal image of God, sitting together and having a meal. There's a famous Russian icon that depicts the Trinity. Andrei Rublev's, it's called The Hospitality of Abraham, based on this passage. It was painted in 1411, a couple weeks ago, 1411. And it's considered one of the most theologically rich pieces of Christian art that there ever was. And in this portrayal of the Trinity, we see three figures seated in perfect harmony, gazing at one another in love. I don't know, is the projector working or not so much? Yeah, so there it is. There it is. So what we see here is three images of the Trinity, Father, Son, and Spirit, sitting here at the table. There's a chalice, and their postures kind of form this sort of sacred circle. But there's something I'd like you to notice here. Is if you look here, there's a really interesting little piece to this painting. You see this little like square here? Kind of like, it's like, what is that there for? Why was that there? And people have contemplated why that square was there for quite some time. Like, was that intentional? And when they really study the original painting, it wasn't actually painted there. It was more embedded into the like canvas itself. So it wasn't paint. And over time, what they began to study as they studied this artist, and they looked at the materials that was on the painting, was that glued there on that little circle originally was a mirror. The artist put a mirror there. Which you think in 1411, there wasn't a lot of like abstract modernist arts. The iconographers of the day weren't gluing too much to their paintings. But this iconographer painted a mirror, or rather glued a mirror there. And the implication here, I believe, is profound. So you see, as you stood before the icon, you might imagine it that you would see your own reflection as part of the circle. That you would see yourself sitting at the table. That when it comes to our engagement with God, you are not just an observer of the Trinity. You are a participant with. You too are being invited to the table. In fact, does being invited to a table sound familiar? You think about the one thing Jesus invited us to remember. Remember this with me, sitting at a table, sharing the communion loaf and wine. This image of a communal God shows us something breathtaking about the heart of God. Community is not just something God does. Community is something God is, and we are made in that image. We are meant to be drawn into the circle. As Jesus says in the book of John, I am in you, you are in me, we are with each other. Amen. Like that's what that picture's like. I am in you, you are in me, we are in each other. You know, where two or three are gathered in my name, there I am. This communal nature is where we experience God. My friends, you belong in that divine fellowship. You were made for communion. You were made for community. This is not just theology. This is identity. We, being made in the image of God, are communal people at our core. Are you with me? This is the divine blueprint for human life. We are not meant to live alone. I would suggest today that to isolate, to be radically lonely, is to deform the image of God that we were made in. If God's image is communal, for us to live isolated is to go against that. And loneliness, my friends, is a constant companion for most of us. The U.S. Surgeon General recently declared that we are in a loneliness epidemic, not metaphorically, but literally. A 2010 study collected data from over 300,000 participants, and the research found that a strong social connection improves your odds of survival and physical health by 50%, while a lack of connection carries the same risk as obesity, excessive drinking, and smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. In her extensive research, Brené Brown says it like this, the great Saint Brené Brown. Is anybody with me? My girl. She says this, we are hardwired for connection, and without it, there is suffering. We are biologically, cognitively, physically, and spiritually wired to love, to be loved, and to belong. And when those needs are not met, we don't function as we were meant to. We break. We fall apart. We numb. We hurt others. We get sick. We were hardwired for connection. We are made in the image of community, and without that, we are suffering. Now, what I want to say to you today, and I want to make this crystal clear. If you feel lonely today, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. It means something is right with you. Right? That ache you feel is sacred. That is your body, that is your soul pulling you and calling toward the image of God you were designed within. It's holy to want to be in community. It's sacred to want to be in friendship. This means something's right with you. Your soul is pulling you toward wholeness. You're not broken. You are right where you should be. Your soul is pulling you toward beauty. So we're not here to shame the lonely. We're here to name the ache and move toward wholeness and healing. Okay. Thank you. This part's gonna be a little tougher though, so maybe hold back on the that's goods. Please don't ever hold back. It is very helpful. What I want to do out of the gate here is I want to help us reimagine a more realistic picture of what community and friendship actually looks like. Because I actually think we're less lonely than we believe, but I think we have incredibly unrealistic expectations as for what community is and supposed to be. And so when we have an expectation of communal life that is like misaligned, and we don't experience it as we should, then we feel as though we're missing out, we're broken, and everything is toast. So what I want to do is I want to help reframe a little bit what community looks like, especially in the most healthy way. So maybe it's not that you're broken, okay, but maybe the image and expectation of what healthy community and relationships should be could be a little fractured, and it needs some mending. There's this image I use with my clients often. If you've been in my office long enough, you will have seen this one. It's called the 4 spaces of belonging. And let's put that up there. And sorry, it's all fuzzy. I was, again, doing things last minute this morning. But what I want to talk about here is these 4 different circles. So we have the first circle over here that's called intimate space. 2 to 4 people, and underneath it you see the word vulnerability. These are the people that know you in your entirety. They know your shadows and your struggles. They know everything. Completely vulnerable. Now, this is probably the most misunderstood layer of community for a few reasons. I think most of us wish we had tons of people that knew us in a radically vulnerable way. We wish we had that. But I'd like to suggest that to have any more than 2 to 4 people that you're that vulnerable with is not wise to any degree. There's a couple reasons for that. First of all, our hearts and souls were simply not built to be entirely vulnerable and exposed to everyone. Now, what I'm not saying is we weren't meant to be vulnerable, but to be vulnerable to that degree to the masses is entirely unwise and unhealthy. The most sacred parts of us must be reserved for specific people that are able to hold those sacred parts of our stories. There's certain things that my therapist holds that the congregation doesn't. There's certain things I take to my therapist before I take them to my wife even, and vice versa. And she teaches me how to take them to and there's things my wife knows that nobody else knows. There's things that exist just in our family unit that don't exist anywhere else. You see what I mean? This kind of vulnerability is unwise to blow it up among so many other people. Secondly, is we aren't capable of holding the entirety of everyone's vulnerability. If there's a group of 10 people in your living room and there's this expectation that you're able to hold 9 other people's entire life history and story and trauma, you will crumble. Lastly, and I want to make this one really clear, this level of intimacy with another person or maybe 2 people takes significant time. I'm talking years and years and years. I recently interviewed my little brother on my podcast, and he's been living in Minnesota for about 7 years. He's met with the same group of people every week for almost 7 years. And he said only now does he feel like they are fully intimate. So he also said, I was like, sometimes I'm like, you want to move back to Colorado? And he said, absolutely, I can't. I can't spend another 7 years building what we built in Minnesota. So I'm never leaving. I'm never leaving. So like, again, when we expect to have this kind of intimacy, if it takes that many years, you can't do that with 10 and 20 and 30 people over the course of so many and many, many years. So to expect to have more than that will just lead you to big, big, big disappointment. Then you have personal space, 5 to 12 people. Think of your small group, your regular dinner crew, the ones you walk with in real life. I'd like to set some reasonable expectations here as well. This is not intimate space. Even in a group like this, there will be folks that you connect with more than others. Right? Duh. Like, isn't there just sometimes that person in a group of 10 people that you're like, I don't know about that person, but this person you connect with, that is very real. That's how community is, right? My wife and I, we've met with the same group for, I don't know, we've had weekly 8 or 9 years now. There were 2 kids when the group started. There's 11 kids in the group now. We have a meal every week. We have a men's retreat. We as a community go to a cabin every year. But even within that group, there's some guys that I talk to about marriage a little bit more than others. And some that we talk a little bit more about money. There's varying layers within this personal group that takes different levels of intimacy. So again, the expectation that we're all supposed to just be bros all the way only sets us up for resentment. What if we didn't expect everybody to be everything in all of our groups, and we just let the group be what it was? Some people I just connect with. Me and Paul don't have a lot of meetings. We don't hang out all the time, but we talk about Star Wars a lot, and that's a great connection, and we have a great, deep, intimate Star Wars bromance. And do I want to hang out with Paul more? Yes. Does our life circumstance allow that right now? Not really. But I don't hate Paul for it. I don't expect him to be my therapist. He's Paul, my Star Wars friend. It doesn't mean I don't long for it. Paul, I would love to hang out more. But I don't resent him because I don't expect him to be my wife. You get what I'm saying? Does that make sense? We look out on social media, we compare ourselves to others and think all these people have all these friends, but it's just not realistic. The most popular people, you think about celebrities and they've got their entourages, or you hear about leaders having inner circles and stuff. To some degree, they do that for a reason. Not because they're jerks, but because it's impossible to have big circles in a healthy way. It's vital we have realistic expectations so we don't resent people. Social spaces, 20 to 50. This is the people you interact with. You know their names, you see them. You might have a meal once a year. Friends of friends, neighbors you like, meaningful connections. But there's not deep disclosure. There's not huge intimacy. Now, here's what I want to make clear here. All of these matter, and we need all of these circles. So we need the public space and the social space. We need all of them. All of them matter. They're part of what make a big community. But most of us are craving the intimacy of a 2-person connection, and we're trying to find it in a group of 20. And we think if we don't have 10 ride or die friends, then we must be broken. Or that every conversation we have with every person must be deeply profound. But what if the invitation here is to embrace the layers, to see the sacredness of each circle for what it is, to stop demanding from the outer rings what only the inner rings can give? For what it's worth, I'm not just making this up. Do you know what this was modeled after? It was Jesus' friend groups. This is modeled exactly after the friend groups of Jesus. He had his three, Peter, James, and John, who were considered to be his kind of inner circle. But even then, within that inner circle, again, think about Jesus' experience. In John 19, it was pretty much just his mom and John with him at the cross. Peter and James weren't even there. And then he had the 12, that core circle. He traveled with them, taught, they did jokes, they challenged each other. He shared life with them deeply, but not in the same way with all of them. And then there were the 72, the disciples that he sent out eventually, 2 by 2, those he empowered to carry his message forward. Those people mattered as well, but they weren't the 12, they weren't the 3. We're not just making this up. This is an example that Jesus set for us. And we're here to follow that. Now, okay, Tyler, thanks, cool. I don't even have one person. Or my small group sucks, dude. How do I start from 0? Or maybe you say, I have 12, but I don't have 2. We're going to get really practical here for a second. And I'm going to share with you the thing that I wish people said to me a long time ago when I was in my loneliest seasons. And changed my life when it comes to community. And I think with the people that I work with now, you could ask them, and the proof seems to be in the pudding. It's not anyone else's job to build or make community or make friends for you. It's not anybody else's job. It's not the church's job. It's not your pastor's job. It's not the group leader's job. It's not your spouse's job. Community is not something you passively receive. It is something we actively build. And think about it this again. What did Jesus do? He didn't sit around waiting for people to come to him. Jesus went out and about and he invited, he initiated. He walked up to fishermen and were like, yo dog, follow me, come be with me. He called people by their name. He showed up at their houses. He showed up at their work. He went to parties. He asked questions. He shared meals. He didn't just passively hope for connection. He cultivated it. He created it. If we want meaningful relationship, we have to do what he did. We have to invite. We have to risk a little awkwardness. We have to go first. We have to believe the community and friendship we long for is possible. It's just waiting on our courage. Here's what's crazy, is when you start doing that, it starts attracting people because they want to be part of what you're doing. And I promise you, if you start initiating the community, you'll be overwhelmed before you know it. Your text groups will be full. And then you're going to come to me starting asking about boundaries and how do I make these inner circles. The kingdom of God is something we are invited to build. We are kingdom builders. We build it. This doesn't happen passively. What if we were more proactive? Now, here's the thing. The hardest part about this for many of us is a fear of rejection. Right? What if someone doesn't accept me and my invitation? What if me going out and trying to build a community and it doesn't happen, and the biggest insecurities about myself, my biggest fears, what if they came true? And that's valid. I'd like to offer 2 thoughts to that fear of rejection. First of all, yes, what if somebody said no? What if someone said yes? Like at least give the yes as much attention as you give the no. You have to give the hope of a yes as much attention as you give the fear of a no. So don't even get rid of the fear of the no, but at least give as much attention to the hope of a yes. What if they said yes? But here's something I'd like to challenge you with as well here. If isolation and loneliness is at an all-time high, the possibility of rejection is lower than it's ever been. If you're sitting in a room of people that are lonely, just wishing that someone would invite them over, it stands to reason that when you ask them to come over for a meal, the probability of getting a yes is probably higher than it's ever been. And this is a common experience for people in most rooms right now, is everybody is looking at one another just wishing someone would invite them to something. And they're all doing it to each other, resenting, oh, I'm the only one on the out. They're all on the in, when really there is no in because nobody's built the in. So, I think you risk it for the biscuit. I think you risk it for the biscuit. Thank you. I'm kind of funny when I'm sad. All right, here's a couple practical things, and I know it's hot. We'll get out of here soon. These pants are too tight for this weather. There are no shortcuts in community. It takes time. Everybody say time. Deep connection takes consistency. One of my very first mentors, he said this. He said, Tyler, consistency breeds credibility. You want trust? You want to build friendships? You got to stay in the same place for a long time. You just leave when it gets hard or somebody upsets you. You're going to have to start all over again. Consistency breeds credibility. You cannot binge friendship. You cannot binge friendship. It builds slowly. Think about this. In John, Jesus says, I no longer call you servants, but I call you friends. This implies that there was a time where he didn't call them friends, and that over time it shifts, and now he calls us friends. That evolves over time. Secondly, this is a big one, diversity. We tend to build community based on, especially in the modern world when social media is the conduit of our connection, we tend to build relationships based on shared fear and based on what we're against. So pick your news channel, whatever your feed shows you, and then we say, I'm going to connect with all the people that agree with this because I hate all of them, and I'm going to make a community like this. We make communities so often based on who we are against, who we don't like, who we don't agree with. Woo! It's quiet now. We have to build, if we want real intimacy, if you want real community, we can't sit with just yes men that rub each other's back. We have to build friendships with people who see the world differently, who reflect, and here's the thing, they also reflect the image of God. So we sit back at this table, that communal table, Father, Son, and Spirit. There's diversity there. There's diversity in how they exist and how they present and how they move about the world. They offer us different images of God, which is to say the image of God is diverse. It cannot be just unilateral. We have to be around people that look different than us. We have to be around people that have more and less money than us. Like in my community group, there's dads who get Rolexes on Father's Day. My wife cleaned my office, and I was pumped, by the way. Which is to say, thank God. Which is to say, though, do you see the difference in that? I probably will never, and I probably don't want one either, but I'm never gonna have a Rolex. And yet, these are some of my best friends on the planet. There's diversity there. That's okay, right? We vote different. In fact, my wife and I are the only couple in our community group that's not interracial. We're the only couple in the whole group. And I think, again, the diversity of that, first of all, the food is better than any other community group, first of all. I mean, we got people from Pakistan and Mexico. It's amazing. So, anyways, and again, this is Jesus. Think about the disciples. We're talking radical fundamentals on both sides of the spectrum. We're part of the 12. I'm not just making this up. This is the example Jesus shows us. Politically, racially, economically diverse. Again, intentionality, like I said, friendship doesn't just happen. It requires reaching out, making plans, following up. You can't expect roots to grow in ground you don't water. And then before you know it, your community will grow, and you have to set boundaries. It's not bad that certain people get different levels of access. That's not unkind, it's holy. Knowing who is in your intimate circles and who is not is part of maturity. It's part of growing up. Also, for what it's worth, just a little side quest, there's a huge difference between like mentors and coaches and guides and pastors and friends. They will set different boundaries with you. You set different boundaries with them. We can talk about that later. Lastly, mutuality. Healthy friendship is always give and receive. If you're always the fixer or you're always the needy one, you're never going to build friendship. You only will build resentment. But if sometimes you're the fixer and sometimes you need things, that's where it happens. We give and we receive, we serve and we take. That's where it really happens. Real friendship makes room on both sides. So, 2 more quick points. We all right? We're not dying? I know you guys, it's so hot. Friendship does not just grow through talking. It grows also through doing. And this, by the way, is a good teaching for prayer and your relationship with God. Most sacred community is not found exclusively across a coffee table. That is part of it. But it is also built alongside a workbench, a running trail, a kitchen. Sharing experience, not just conversation, is what ultimately cultivates healthy community. Derek and Tessa, 12 years ago, they come to church. My wife and I used to go to a Friday night church. This young couple comes in. I don't know, did you guys even have kids then? Was Journey even born yet? No kids. Their first church service in Colorado Springs. We meet them at church. We knew they didn't have friends. We knew they were brand new to town, just from Texas. And we said, tomorrow we're taking you to a Rockies game. This was 12 years ago. So for what it's worth, I've known Derek a long time. And we became friends like this. Not because we went and just had a meal or we just went out to coffee afterwards. Again, I'm not against that. But we went and had an experience. We risked it for the biscuit. We went straight to, we didn't know them. He could have been a serial killer. But and now he's my boss. My first date with Chelsea, she calls me up and she's like, hey, you want to hang out? And I'm like, yes, please. But you want to know our first date was? You know how much money I had then? None. I had none money. I went to my basement, I found a box of chalk. And we went all over downtown Colorado Springs and we traced the shadows from the lights with chalk. We didn't talk that much that night, but we connected big time. We did something together. We were communal in nature. We were doing something. So you want a deeper friendship? Don't just sit at a meal. Go on walks. Build something. Have fun. Have an experience. There's so many different ways. Every parade, think about this. Like if you want some friends, here's some practical stuff. Every parade in town has a committee. And they all want somebody to join it, to help run the parade. Pick your parade and join the committee. And help start a parade. You're going to make friends. Pick your thing. You know, St. Patrick's Day, Veterans Parade. I don't know, just pick a parade. The local soccer club called the Switchbacks. There's a thing called, they have supporters groups. The Colorado Rapids and Denver have the same thing. And they get together and they paint big posters and they learn songs together. Go join the supporters club. Every running store that sells shoes has a run club. Every single one. Nick will go do it with you. Nick, raise your hand. He's your new running partner. And then, of course, you want to know what really does it? Volunteering. You guys think volunteering is about serving others? It is that. And it's about community. You want to make friends real quick? Go cook some eggs. Do the soundboard or the just show up. Then all of a sudden you get invited to meetings. You get invited to meals after the volunteering. You get people's phone numbers because they need you. And now you have all these people's phone numbers. Just go do something. Just do something. Oil and perfume make the heart glad, and the sweetness of a friend comes from their heartfelt counsel. Friendship, my friends, is a gift. It's sweet, sacred, and healing, like oil on a wound. May we become the kind of people who offer that sweetness to one another. May we build what we long for. And may we remember that community is not a bonus feature to being a Christian. It's the very foundation image of who God is.